You likely know what it feels like when you're overwhelmed by the number of products on a website when looking for what to buy, or just comparing prices. If that's the case, you'll be happy to know that there's an easier way to compare many products at the same time, without even opening the website itself. I'm Dovydas from Oxylabs, and I'll show you how to scrape all products from a website using Python and Oxylabs Web Scraper API. Scraping an e-commerce website allows you to make a well-informed decision when purchasing something. Plus, if you're planning to open your own e-commerce store, it could help you gather information on your competitors and their pricing strategies. When scraping, you could run the scraping job daily for a longer period of time, collecting data and comparing how the prices change over time. This makes it possible for you to single out the best time to buy something if you have enough data, or to get the competitor intel and price your own products accordingly. These are just a few examples of the possibilities you unlock when you have access to structured data from the web. Let's take a look at how to retrieve it with Python and Oxylabs Web Scraper API. You can start by creating a virtual environment for your Python script. You'll also need to install requests, pandas, and BS4, which we'll be using to access the API, parse the HTML, and store the retrieved data. Run these lines to do just that. Next up, create a Python file in a folder of your choice. For this example, we'll call it main.py. Once you open it, add these lines to import the previously installed libraries. Now that the base setup is defined, we can begin by writing the function that we'll be using to scrape a website. Let's define a function called scrapeProducts. The function will be responsible for calling the Web Scraper API and retrieving the HTML for the page we provide to it. The function should accept a URL argument, which will represent the page you want to scrape. Inside the function, you should declare a variable for the payload of your request. The payload should include URL and source attributes. We'll be setting the source to universal for this example. Before we can send the request, we should define the credentials we'll use to authenticate with the Web Scraper API. These credentials can be found in your Oxylabs dashboard under the Web Scraper API section. Once retrieved, declare them as variables inside the function, just under the payload. With everything prepared, we can now send a request to the API. Let's use our previously installed request library to form a POST request. It should include the URL of the API, the credentials, and the payload we defined earlier. For now, let's print out the response we get to see if everything's okay. To test out the code we have so far, let's execute the function with a URL of a sandbox e-commerce page provided by Oxylabs. The response should look something like this. As you can see, the Web Scraper API returned the full HTML content of the page we provided. That is, however, only half the work done, as we still need to extract the data we need from the raw HTML code. First of all, let's return the content of the response from the scrapeProducts function, like this. Next, we'll need to implement another function for parsing the HTML code. Let's call it parseProducts from HTML, and have it accept an HTML string as an argument. Inside the function, we should see the previously installed BeautifulSoup library to select every product card from the website. We'll do that by using CSS selectors, retrieved by inspecting the HTML elements manually. Then, we can loop over each of the selected cards and select the title, description, and price of each item. We can then store each value in a dictionary and add it to a list, which we'll return from the function. If we execute the parse products from HTML function with the HTML retrieved from the previous one and print out the result, we should see a beautifully structured list of product data from the website. What's left now is to store it somewhere, so we can access it later on. Let's add another function called store_to_CSV, which accepts a product argument. The function should only have these two lines, which should use pandas to create a file called products.csv in your current directory. If you add this function at the end of your script and run it again, you should see just that. By now, you've learned to use the Web Scraper API to scrape relevant product data from an e-commerce page using Python. We also looked at how to store this data in a CSV format for later use. If you have any questions regarding the API, email support@oxylabs.io or write to us via the live chat on our homepage. Also, consider joining our Discord community, where we discuss all things web scraping. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.